Hi.
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
My friends, once again, it is indeed time to get our talk on. It's Morning Talk with me, your host, J.C. McCauley, along with the champions of talk. This morning, of course, we've got two of our world-renowned talk champions. The first hour, we've got Dr. Mya Bowen, and in the second, joining us, the second hour, we've got none other than Luis Delgado. So, buckle up, stick and stay as we continue conversational talk. I was caught off guard. I forgot to put on my Ash Defender. Ash Defender. Lotion. You know, you sit on the air and your face starts chapping up and you start seeing flakes of ash falling off your face.
So as long as the light is hitting you right, I don't think anybody can tell.
You know, Ash Defender. You know, people of color need Ash Defender.
Absolutely. Some cocoa butter, some lotion, some Vaseline.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine was a Vaseline guy. He looked like he had come out of an oil pit. You know, out of what Crisco, Crisco, Vaseline. Corn oil.
Wow. Yeah, once that sun hit you, though, I'm sure he was shaking and baking.
Baking out there. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Oh,
wow.
No doubt. We got Dr. Mya Bowen here with us, and she is finally finished up her year. I guess she goes get a little time off before she has to prep up again.
Yeah, well, there's news. There's news on the horizon. So I usually don't teach during the summer, especially over the past 2 years. However, I was given an opportunity to teach a CompTIA A+ certification course. And so that is going to be 6 weeks long, and it started on Monday. And so we're meeting Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays in the evening up until 9:30. And it's a doozy. Like that, 16 students registered for the course. And so we are taking this journey together, and this is only
cool. Wow. All right. Adult learners.
So we're in the andragogy mode. I'm taking an andragogy.
Andragogy, as opposed to pedagogy.
There. Exactly. I'm not quite sure when the dynamic is going to switch, where we start really focusing in on using the term andragogy more often than pedagogy. But for now, pedagogy is how and teaching practices are sculpted in the industry. So stick and stay, see when it is that paradigm shift actually takes effect.
Absolutely. Well, the summer is upon us. Kids are off to camp. They're playing in the at home, whatever the case is. We start. 4th of July is this weekend. Wow.
I know.
Summer is flying by.
Yes, it's in full effect and it's flying by. As I've gotten older, I started realizing if I blink, back in the fall mode all over again. So I'm embracing every day for what it's biting in terms of interestingness. Because every day you wake up, you never know what you're going to bet with or eat. So it's an interesting journey. It's life. It is summer season. It goes by pretty quick.
It does. It does. Life goes by quickly. It seems as though, if you don't, the old adage, take time to smell the rose, or take time to smell the coffee. Stop and smell the roses.
Stop and smell the roses. Yes. I was pruning some roses yesterday in my mom's garden, as a matter of fact, in order to get rid of those dying leaves so that the nutrients could flow to those that were actually thriving and surviving on the vine there. And I got pricked. I wasn't trying to get pricked, but you have to watch out for the thorns on those roses as well as the thorns in life.
You got that right. But time goes by so quick. If you don't take the time out, before you know it, the season's over. And the months go by like days now. And so you really have to force yourself to stop. Just stop. Take 3 or 4 hours off in the afternoon or in the evening or in the morning time. Go out and walk around, drive around, go somewhere, do something. Take something in and slow down, because it'll go by. It goes by so fast. Mm-hmm. And then you're back into the routine again.
Exactly. Yes. Speaking of being back in a routine, with everything that has happened within the past month, in regards to shooting, my mind actually this morning started thinking about how policies and best practices are going to be put into place for students as they return fall. Where again, blink and we're back in fall. And so, with that being the case, we want to, get truly, really pray for and lift up our leadership to, having them to get some concrete that's practical and sustainable, and so that with other resources to carry out safe practices and measures for students as they return.
Absolutely. You're cutting in and out again. I don't know why, but
Sure. You know what? Give me 1 second. Let me see whether or not my air conditioner is causing some kind of intermittence. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Every once in a while we have slight audio issues. I was talking to a friend of mine over the weekend, and we were talking about the situation with guns, and it came up the idea, the notion that we have, do we want guns in school? And I was thinking about it as you were talking, and the answer to the question tends to get philosophical as opposed to practical. And to me, it's a non-issue. Do we want guns in school? The answer to the question is a hard no, period. But that's not the issue. The issue isn't guns in school. The issue is, do we want our kids safe, and what cost?
Right.
And so, do we want guns in banks? Nope. But the bank wants its money safe. So, do you want guns in lots of places? No. Do you want bulletproof glass at the bank, or at the Stop and Shop, or at the kiosk in the evening? There's a lot of things we don't want, but then there are a lot of things that, because it is practical, that we need. Right. And I think the issue is, how do we keep our kids safe?
Right.
That should be the starting point. How do we keep children safe in school?
Right.
And then whatever it takes to arrive at that point.
Exactly. I find that we live in a world where we have a lot of distractions, right? So imagine that you're a security guard, and you leave your post, but there's no one to replace you at your post. At that exact moment is an opportunity for someone who is planning something to actually use that point of weakness to launch into whatever nefarious mode that they have planned. And so in security, computer security, it's up for debate as to how it is to best put in place policies and procedures and make sure that they're followed in order to not allow for certain types of weaknesses to be penetrated. Now, we know that nothing is 100% secure from the computer technology side, but also from the non-computer technology side as well. However, when we're dealing with people, we have to make sure that everybody is on board with what it is that has been put in place. So, for example, the security guard should have their CB radio to state that they're going to need a relief colleague to sit in their place while they take their break, so that it is that does not become a point of weakness, that somebody actually uses to their advantage. So, take into consideration that if we use the bank scenario, the bank, even if they did have guns, the tangibles there are property and non-human, and they are insured. As a matter of fact, they have a limit on the amount of money that they can carry. So they've got policies in place where even if they get quote unquote hit, they're not losing much, and they are insured. Right, but you can never replace a life. You can replace the money because they're making money as we speak. As a matter of fact, I can hear the machines going, kind of, sort of, in my head. Anyways, but the money can be made, but lives can't be replaced. So when we're dealing with human life and the delicate-ness of said human life, we've got to make sure that everybody is on cue, on par, alert, not scared or fearful, but just alert and not distracted. And we know the biggest distractor for us all, including myself, are our cell phones. So yeah, it comes down to individuals being on alert and other individuals having nefarious things in mind, and it doesn't bode well when it is that we have loss of life due to individuals that don't value life.
Yeah, mitigating loss. You could, the quote unquote loss prevention in stores, retail stores. Of course, the bank finds ways to make sure they reduce the overall impact of a robbery. Only so much in the drawer, only so much, that people have access to, and it's insured. So if we value human beings, because it gets semi-moral, philosophical, because there's so many human beings on the planet. And to what degree do we value life, and to what degree do we value certain individuals and certain life? So, if we as a state make a lot of our money through the defense industry, Pratt & Whitney, Electric Boat, Colt Firearms isn't as big a contributor as it once was, but if a lot of your money is made in the quote unquote defense industry, which is a war-based industry, if we're selling Javelin missiles to the Ukrainians so that they can kill people, then life is valuable to certain people, but other life is not valuable. So
Mm-hmm.
Ukrainian life would be more valuable right now than Russian lives. Black lives might not be as valuable as white lives. White lives might not be as valuable as black lives, and Puerto Rican lives might not be as valuable as Mexican lives. It depends on what you're talking about and who you're talking about. And so anytime life becomes less valuable or you start categorizing, then you get a manifestation of that. And so
that's the issue.
If kids just aren't, in my mind, children are not protected. There's a lot of talk, but there would be no debate whatsoever about securing money.
Absolutely.
No one would have a debate.
Here's the thing. You're hitting something that is really, really powerful in terms of that dynamic, right? So when it is that economics, specifically if we're talking about money, comes into play, and I hope my audio is coming in okay.
It is.
Awesome. All right. When money comes into play, it has been historically the placement of money over human life that makes for the decisions that we see being made. So if it is that money is tied into power and the acquiring of tangibles and or assets, or however you want to classify it, that's where we have, right? So if I'm going to make money off of loss of life, loss of property, and I'm playing both ends, I'm selling you the guns as well as making them, and it's a wild dynamic, the economics of it, right? So if I value money over human life, I could play both sides. So Russia and Ukraine, guess what? I'll be both of y'all suppliers. And then at the end of the whole shebang, guess who wins? I do. Because I've profited from the supply and demand aspect of war. So, and it's been going on for multiple centuries. It's just a new day, but the game has not changed. A tiger doesn't change his stripes, right?
That is right. So then children are not as valuable in the long run as money.
Based on historical and present value assessments, that would be correct. I mean, particularly, and I say that
because that's the only real takeaway. Because now let me throw this in there.
Okay.
If children are a revenue stream that gets you money in a system, if each child is worth $20,000, $15,000 to the system, if kids will be socially promoted in order to get the money, if, as Stephen Adamowski suggests, that every system produces what it is designed to produce, and that the system is not benefiting the kids but the adults, then, does the system really value the children?
I would say no. Just to make it plain. I mean, really and truly, if the outcome of a system that is supposed to educate our youth is not producing educated youth, then the ultimate goal is definitely not what we see in writing and broadcast around town, right? So it's like a covert operation. On the outside, you see Mya, but on the inside, some completely different going on. Right? So, it's the outward appearance versus what the real deal actually is, and it's covered by the what you see outwardly. So yeah, it's a crazy dynamic, but it's been going on for centuries, and you already know this, so it's not like I need to preach to the choir. But for individuals looking at this particular broadcast, really taking a look at the role that history plays on what it is that we see in 2022. The history speaks volumes. So, you want to know anything right now. As a matter of fact, I talked about our mobile devices earlier. You don't even have to roll out of bed. Just pick your phone up, which you probably already have in your hand, and do some Google research, right? You got a question, Google got an answer, multiple. Multiple answers. And then you have to actually sort through it all and find out what is the actual truth related to what you're trying to unpack and discover per the question that you ask.
So to me, the issue is not one of quote unquote Second Amendment or gun control, but rather how do we protect children? Mm-hmm. So I'm really interested in this question. So for the audience out there that's watching, put in the chat what you think should be done to protect children at school. What should be done to protect children? Now we know what's being done at the airport.
Mm-hmm.
They can protect assets such as airplanes, aircraft, and human beings that are grown, and and children getting on planes. Anyone just can't go run up and get on a plane anymore at the airport. I remember I could go to the airport and just you'd go to the airport like a destination. Just walk around, watch the planes take off and land. You could go up to the gate. You could you walk around the airport like you walk around the city. And then that was something that they stopped allowing people to do. Now they don't allow you to walk into the school. Clearly, you can't just walk into school. Right. Now it's difficult. Sometimes it's more difficult
for a parent, right?
It's self-evident. You got that? That's exactly where I was going to go. It's seemingly more difficult for the parent to get into the school.
Wow. The ultimate stakeholder in one's child's life cannot even enter into the gates of the environment or the building that is housing their child for up to like 8 hours or more, right? So that's a crazy dynamic right there. Speaking of gatekeepers, but an individual that is not even affiliated with a school can easily get in, which is great. That is so wild. That is something's not right. We're missing a whole lot of pieces to the puzzle here. But it's still not rocket science, right? Because if it is that you understand the climate that we live in terms of individuals having psychological and emotional issues, and we know that guns are available. The question now becomes, how do we best equip the buildings that our children go into to protect them if it is that the perimeter has actually been breached, right? So, I've seen some videos where it is that they've used the chairs in the classroom to lock the doors, but not every door in a classroom for every school building is actually designed that way. So the question becomes, how do these types of practices to secure classrooms get rolled out prior to them in the fall. So hopefully everybody across the country is doing their due diligence, who's in leadership positions to make these policies, are putting them together so they get individuals equipped, they get the handouts, they get the parents made aware of what the policies and practices are going to be. Yes, it's a heavy lift, but guess what? Your paycheck is attached to that heavy lift. So you wouldn't be getting paid as much as you're getting paid if you were not deemed to be the individual that could handle said tasks. So the heavy lift also comes with the affiliated reward of your paycheck. So let's get busy, people. Let's roll up those sleeves and make sure that our kids are safe in the fall and going forward.
Fall of 2022 school starts, and it's going to be very interesting this year. How we move forward and what things are going to be in place. School safety plans. Do you know your child's school safety plan?
That's a great question.
Every school has a school safety plan, just like cities have, disaster preparedness plan in case of a hurricane, tornado, earthquake, natural disaster, terrorist incident. All of these things are in place, and it's very interesting as to whether or not parents are aware of these things. I would say they're generally probably not, because as I sit here and ask the question, I am unaware of my children's school safety plan. It never even dawned on me. But these are things that didn't dawn on you. But these are things that you have to be concerned about now. There are a lot of things that you didn't used to really be concerned about that now you do. Now you have to think of these things. Once upon a time, you could walk down the street and walk through the central parks of America at midnight and not have to worry. And then things changed. So maybe the Cinderella, Camelot era of public school is gone, and we need to, we live in an age and a time when you have to take these things seriously, and you have to take control of them firsthand.
Absolutely. Jonathan had a guest on who's running for office in Harlem, and she said something really, really dynamic. She asked, really, why is it necessary for us to have AR? What is it? 22s,
AR-15.
Yes, the automatic rifle. Why is it necessary for civilians to have automatic rifles? That should not be something that's on the market for anyone. According to the individuals that I had as colleagues, when they went hunting, they actually use bows and arrows so as to not to scare off the deer, right? So what's the purpose of a civilian having an automatic rifle as if they're going to fight a war? That's ridiculous. Those should not be in the hands of civilians. I can understand a handgun for safety, right? But from the perspective that we are militarized to the hilt, civilian and non-civilian, right? It's just like, what type of war are we planning on fighting where we're going to be taking out multiple individuals and sometimes not even the intended target, because bullets have no names on them. And so if you don't know how to use that weapon, somebody who was unintended as a target is going to get hurt or worse, killed. And again, it goes back to what is the real value within our society. Is it things or is it people? And obviously we know that it's things. For myself, I know that I started thinking about, all the stuff that I've acquired when it is my last day, my final breath, I'm not taking none of this with me. So why am I stressing over this? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not even worth it. Like, you can replace a thing. You cannot replace a person. They haven't done it yet.
And your clone, if you had a clone, he might take you out.
He could. Will Smith actually had that movie where they cloned his cells. I forget what it was called, but I saw it, and you know what, it was the animation and graphical stuff was a little shoddy, I must say, but you know, I got the point. It was an interesting movie, but you know, I saw some glitches in there. It was no perfection in terms of that dynamic. However, yes, your clone could be the one that actually takes you out. Now, see, for me, my clone would be the one that would be working for me and bringing me back the paycheck.
Now, see, now you jumping into a very touchy area of clone rights. Now, you know, you can't have your clone working for you and you taking all of the wealth.
I'm the owner, and she would benefit from, you know,
that's
some
very
things.
that's very, very interesting. But we have to explore. We could explore that's the perfect.
Right?
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You had talked about the AR-15. I think that it touches into something that we are. I think that we are really, really experiencing here in America and perhaps around the world. Of course, we don't live around the world. We live in America, and specifically, we live in Hartford, and in the greater Hartford area, or in Connecticut. No, not having said all that, self seems to be at the top of the food chain, and not just self. A deified self, you know, where the individual is divine. The individual is God. I am my own God. And as such, and I say that about the AR-15, who needs an AR-15? Who are we at war with? And I think that once you come to a place where you are the center of everything, then anything is justified as long as you say so. And so we've come to a place of self-exaltation, that whatever I want trumps whatever anyone else wants. And in order to empower me, I become a we. Now, not only am I at the center of the universe, I, by extension, include those who are like-minded with me, and I say us, we, community, whatever the case is, and I am now so divine that I'm actually speaking for the community, my community. So, who, as the community, I'm self-elected, self-appointed, self-anointed in all things that I say. We need AR-15. We need special sanction. We need all these things. And I think the AR-15 is just another manifestation of that, because it's not a practical tool for hunting. No. You know, unless you're shooting at a herd of deer, you know, then you can't dress, carry, you know, store the meat. You know, it's a machine designed to kill. It's a killing machine. You destroyed
the game. That is, I guess, in a true fashion of hunting. And I'm not a hunter, but you know, just hearing the stories, the objective is to identify the target, not startle the target off, and use a weapon that is not going to make a lot of noise in order to destroy said target, right? So you want something that you'll be able to actually eat it, if that's the purpose of your hunting, especially when it is that individuals hunt deer. And what I know, based on those individuals, they use, you know, bow and arrow. And that's a quiet weapon, so as to not destroy the target and or make the noise that an AR or automatic rifle would. So, you know, where we find ourselves now, when individuals are really utilizing any type of weapon, if it's not for self-defense, a lot of times people are acting off of emotion. So if you're carrying your weapon with you, concealed, and somebody rubs you the wrong way, and why in the state of your emotion would you actually use that weapon, knowing in a more rational, calmer setting that the loss of life is possible, right? So it comes down to emotional intelligence, really and truly, because like literally we, for the most part, when it is that emotions run high, you're not gonna make the best decisions. Let's keep it 100, because I've been there. The humanity in me, and I know other people have experienced that as well. And so why are we making long-term decisions based off of our short-term emotions? And sometimes when you think back, you can't even remember why it is that you engaged in the type of behavior or said what you said, based on what quote unquote provoked you. And the question becomes, how do you manage yourself, self-management, when it is that certain buttons are being pushed by anyone that could make you want to get froggy like Kermit? It's a wild dynamic going on. But to be human is to have emotions, but also to be human is to actually have the ability to manage one's emotions as well. And as a society, are we equipping individuals to handle their emotions so that it does not end up in the loss of life?
Well, I think that's a great avenue and a good off and on ramp. Because I think that I'm gonna bring Lou in because he's here. Mm-hmm. I think that discussion presupposes, because people have these discussions all the time, mm-hmm. but when they do, they're rational. You never have this discussion among people who get ready to shoot one another, mm-hmm. because you can't. And I've seen rooms full of very intelligent people, mm-hmm. very emotionally controlled, descend into chaos and folk having to pull each other off of one another mm-hmm. because mm-hmm. everyone has the capacity to get very, very, very upset. I know I've been there. I went off downtown at the old State State House Square because mm-hmm. I was with some children, mm-hmm. And I was doing a video workshop, mm-hmm. and the kids, I told them, your assignment is to take these cameras, go out, get some video, and I want you to find, and I would give them like really hard tasks. Mm-hmm. I want you to find someone who is Asian. I want you to find an Asian male, an Asian female, a white male, white female, someone that speaks Spanish, and someone who is Black. Mm-hmm. And I want you to find an interracial couple and interview them so that they have to really go look for people. I want you to walking up to the first person you see and run back here. Mm-hmm. And I want you to ask questions that are probing, mm-hmm. outside your comfort zone. Right. Because one, at lunchtime, downtown Hartford, people don't have time to be talking to you about nothing. They out to go get right. their lunch and come back. Right. So they wound up inside State House Square because there was a food court there. Right. And then they came back. Now, I tell you about the State House Square first so you have to understand the context. 10 minutes later, they're coming back. I said, why are you all coming? Now, there's no way that you all went out, got this, and came back here in 10 minutes. It's impossible. You be reported for Channel 3. You ain't come back here like that. No. Well, they kicked us out of State House Square. I said, look, what do you mean they kicked you out of State House Square? I said, that's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Now, I want you to go back. No, mister, kids. No, Mr. Stan, they kicked us out of State House Square. So I'm saying, who is they? Mm-hmm. The security. The security kicked you out of State House Square. Yeah. So what were you all doing that caused them to kick you out of State House Square? We weren't doing anything. So you're telling me that you went into State House Square, and so what were you doing? Was you cussing? I mean, what were you doing? We didn't do anything. We were walking in State House Square, and the security told us we had to leave. I said, just because you're in there? Right. So what if you were in there buying lunch? They told us we couldn't come in there and we had to leave. That we constituted a gang. I thought all I could see was stars. I literally, all I could see was stars. I said, come with me. They're going to have to kick us all out. So I'm marching down Main Street from the Richardson building, past Old Sage Allen. And I'm going into State House Square, and I'm walking in there, and the guard starts approaching me. He says, can I help you? I says, not unless you can tell me who your boss is. He says, hold up, you can't go no further. I told these people they could come in. I said, these people are with me, and they're coming in here, and there's nothing that you're going to do to otherwise. He goes, well, sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I'm not leaving nowhere. I'm going to where's your, so I'm walking in now. I'm livid. I'm livid. And so I'm pressing my way across State House Square. They got these glass doors, right? So I'm going in this is why to this day I don't go into State House Square. I refuse to go in the building. Refuse.
The only thing I gotta say about State House Square, Stan, is that you're lucky they didn't put you up for sale.
Well, since that's where they sell slaves, but that was at the old State House.
No. It ain't nothing changed.
Right, but nonetheless.
That's why you don't go there.
But nonetheless, I don't go there not because they sold slaves there. I don't go there because of the way they treated my children. So anyhow, now the guard he's got his gloves on. I don't touch me. Don't touch me. I'm telling you right now, don't touch me. Now the other guard came, and was it a he or she? It was a he. He knew me. Now he's trying to mitigate, and I'm on the phone talking to somebody. Now I'm on the phone talking to somebody. He's trying to calm the guard down. Right? And I was a candidate for mayor at the time.
Wow.
I was livid.
Wasn't that Turner?
He wouldn't let me go upstairs to see security. So I'm yelling now at the top of my lungs in the square where the food thing was, right? And he's telling me he's going to call the police. I said, you need to call the police. Call the police. I'm not going nowhere. I'm yelling. I'm not going anywhere. You need to call the police. I want them to come. Right. That's going to really work out great for you. Call the police. You tell them, I mentioned my name, that I am here. And I was totally gone. Totally gone. Now, in all honesty, this had moved way beyond the children. And it was all about me. See?
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
I'm just being beyond honest. It wasn't about principle and all this other crap. It was about me.
Stan.
You telling me you gonna kick me out?
Your ego was
my ego was at full
pain.
It wasn't no pain. Wasn't no pain. It was how dare you gonna treat me like that? Because that's what happens.
Yes.
We can dance all around.
White privilege. Tell me the truth, Stan. You felt some white privilege.
No, it wasn't all that.
Nah.
I don't turn it into white privilege. It was you not treating me like I want to be treated.
I'm a human being.
You could treat other people any way you want to treat them. That's all good.
Who was this person stand?
This was the security guard.
But was he a white man? An
He
Asian
was
man?
he was white. He was white.
But essentially, that doesn't even matter.
But to me, it
doesn't
doesn't
matter.
It doesn't matter.
It matters the treatment. It could have been a black man. It could have been a Hispanic man. It could have been an Asian man. It doesn't matter. Because at the point where you are not being treated with the decency of a citizen visiting said building, that right there, oh my goodness, yeah, that turned up the eagle quite a few levels, right? And essentially, it gets back to what we were saying earlier in regards to how it is that situations escalate, but at the same time, when we look at each and every individual, all of us are responsible for how high we turn our egos up to escalate situations. So in engaging with other individuals in the heat of the moment, the emotions run high, which then impact what we actually end up doing in terms of our behaviors, which could be long-term and detrimental. And so that at that point, now, if we're looking at it from the perspective of our youth, our children, it's always going to be something in line in regards to how it is that we help them self-manage, right? Have them have an understanding of what self-management is and let them know that the long-term consequences of these short-term behaviors can impact a lot of things. And there's so many different variables related to that, right? And so at the point where even if when I went to Weaver High School, if I would have got into, let's say, a fight, at the point that I got suspended or expelled, those types of consequences come along with me engaging in said behavior. If I bring a weapon on campus, there are consequences to that. And so I'm looking at it from the perspective that, even if there are consequences and individuals know that there are consequences, are they still willing? Because again, we're talking about them acting out of emotion. Are they still willing to engage in the behavior despite the consequences? And most times that answer is yes, because it's the emotions that are dictating their behaviors and not their rational, calm, level-headed minds.
So it takes training, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
to
it
be
does.
able to, for police officers, federal officials, Secret Service officers, it's a matter of training. And so some people are trained better than others, and others shouldn't even be allowed to have certain jobs or positions.
Right.
But anyone can become irate.
Anybody.
Anybody can become irate. So I think
Absolutely.
that when we have the discussions, they're with grounded, reasonable people in the moment, but that doesn't affect the folk downstream. So I think as long as if we're self-focused, self-absorbed, and the scale goes back and forth, then everything else around you doesn't matter, just me. And I think that you make a long story short and come back full circle. The AR-15 it's another outward manifestation of that. Being armed simply for the sake of being armed. You got yourself a laser gun, a rail gun, a bazooka. At what point does my quote unquote right to have supersede everyone else's right to be safe from when I have a temper tantrum? And I don't know how you reasonably legislate that. I think you can create atmospheres and conditions where people begin to respect one another. I think that's really what's breaking down.
That's
the lack of respect for others,
right,
and the inability to be to be tolerant of others with whom we disagree. And that, I think that's what ultimately is breaking down. We are no longer willing to tolerate those with whom we disagree. And with that attitude, then I need to arm up. Because when they come, I'm killing everybody. I mean, that seems to be how people are positioning themselves. Because it's like what are they afraid of?
So check this out, right? So let's look at all the games out there that these youth. So we've got gamers from, let's say, 5 and up, and I want to say they're even younger than that, but from 5 and up specifically, playing these shoot 'em out games and these let's put them in the category of violent games. Now, the knockout game became live and in effect from my perspective based on individuals playing the game. What is it called? And I'm so mad that it's escaping me. Where it is that Grand Theft Auto. So Grand Theft Auto merged into a lot of different versions where you're simulated to beat people up and they don't even respond back, right? Because some people are lovers and not fighters. But in this simulated mode, you can be a character, any type of character, and you're going around just knocking people out. And so somebody got the genius idea, not so genius, to actually go out in these streets and start actually punching people in the face. Like elderly, young, and everybody in between. Like, is that what sense of reality is really dictating that person saying, oh, it's okay for me to just go up to somebody, a random person, and just hit them in the face to knock them out? And that's supposed to be fun, right? So whether or not it was connected to an individual's decision or a group decision, AKA possibly a gang type of initiation type thing, how many people can you knock out? We've become, because this world has been violent for a very long time, but we've become increasingly violent because of the lack of respect, the lack of placement of value in people's lives, and us not being able to issue grace or give some sort of grace to individuals by tolerating them from the perspective that we don't hurt them. You can always walk away. You yourself can walk away. But when it is that we are so heavily focused in on self, again, being deified, I'm the only one that matters here. And I don't know anything else besides my best interest being the interest that ranks as priority at this given moment. So whoever's going to get it, they're going to get it. And I'm not considering how that's going to impact them. And that's where we find ourselves. And it's a sad state of affairs when it is that we are not valuing other individuals, no matter what they look like. So from the perspective that you could be purple, I still have to consider the fact that your life is just as valuable as mine. Because once it's gone, either one of our lives is gone, it's gone forever. And so we've got to come to a place where we have a cultural paradigm shift so that it is that we're not doling out all this pain and destruction that we see from the home level out into the community and beyond. If we don't do it, then we're going to keep seeing us spiral down this very destructive road that we're actually on. And so having said all that, we got a lot of work to do with self and hopefully make this a more broadcast message beyond so that we can correct the wrongs that we find ourselves in from the perspective of destruction. And sometimes it's self-destruction as well. So we got some work to do.
Well, sister, thank you for that knowledge. It's wonderful. And greetings to everyone. And I want to start off the day by saying to the community that a term that we need to become extremely familiar with is racial battle fatigue. And that's a condition that affects all people of color from racial bias of all kinds. So in terms of what we're talking, the discussion that we're having today, Dr. Mya, I'd like to offer something. I think that we are an extremely accepting society, especially the black and the brown people. We accept a lot of things because for whatever reasons, you know what I'm saying? But I think that the best thing that I can offer to this conversation is that someone said, I think Stan, you said it on the show, we build cities for cars. And so we need to learn to build cities for people. And by the same token in everything else that we do. You know what I'm saying? Because I have the same question. Why would you need an AR-15? I would like, I don't think it's safe for any citizen to have a weapon. I think we should have shooting ranges where any citizen of any age, regardless of their record, can go there, get a gun, right on the range and use it. You know what I'm saying? Target whatever, and then you leave it there and you go home. You don't have a weapon. We have to explore things from a different angle because everything that we do, and I hate to keep saying this, but white people monetize everything. And we're not going to get rid of the guns that easy because there's money in it. And as long as there's money in it, they're going to fight tooth and nail. You know what I'm saying? So I think that we have to build everything that we do. And it has to be for people. And that shift that you're talking about already started, sister. We are in the age or in the time of the Great Awakening right now. And ancestral knowledge tells me that immediately and even at the same time is the Great Judgment. And that's what's happening. And it's natural and it's not man-made. It's not a man-made phenomenon. This is a natural phenomenon. The universe is speaking to us and is letting us know that they're going to make things right. So yeah, we have to get ready for that. But we don't do anything unless there's money involved. And we have to get away from that because money is a tool. That's all it is. It's something that is like a screwdriver. You know, you use a particular screwdriver to take out a particular screw. And money is a particular tool that you use to take out particular screws or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And we have to learn that. Right, you know, and money is a white construct. That's an American construct.
Good morning, Lou. Good morning, Lou.
Sister.
Yes, I hear what you're saying. I'm trying to process it all. You know, you're right. So the question becomes, is the tool using us or are we using the tool? Right? Because I've never seen a screwdriver use me. I've never seen a screwdriver use me. I've always used the screwdriver.
I think there's people that are using that tool to manipulate situations.
The tool being money.
You know, the tool being the money. Yes. Mm-hmm. So for me, I don't use that word. I don't think as indigenous black people we should use that term.
Money?
We should learn to use the term wealth, because money, like everything else that's white American, is individual. When you have money, money is an individual thing. Wealth is a family and is a community thing. When you create wealth for yourself, your family, and your tribe, being your community.
That's true. But I think
so. We have to learn to look at things. See, because everything that we do and everything we talk about at the end of the day is from a European perspective, because that's all we know. We don't have another one. So we have to create that. What does that look like, Dr. Mya and Stan? I have no idea. But we're doing it right now. Right now.
Yeah, but money precedes Europe. I mean,
yes, it does.
The idea of currency.
Yeah, but the way that is used here, you know what I'm saying, is used in a terrible way, because you're measured in this country. You're measured by whether you have it or not. It's not your character that makes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Lou, I would say that money takes on the character of the individual that possesses it. That's how I actually looked into, kind of getting an understanding of what money actually is in terms of it being a resource. And so it was presented to me that money takes on the character of the person that actually has it in hand. So for example, if I was a pimp and I did pimp things, guess what? That money is going to be used by me as a pimp based on my character, right? So it's in and of itself, money is not evil. Money is a way, again, a tool that is to be used. And so whoever possesses said money will use it based on their character. And so
money is like religion, Dr. Mya.
It's not an illusion, because here's the thing: if it was an illusion, we wouldn't be having this conversation. That means that it was not really something for us to actually use. Now, here's the thing: again, a resource. Water is a resource, a natural resource. So is that an illusion? Air is a natural resource. Is that an illusion? No, these are things that we actually utilize from a day-to-day basis based on what their utility affords us. Here's the thing: people regulate water as well as regulate the air. Who owns the water and the air? In the real life sense of things, it is no human beings has a right to actually own it, but they, like you went to, they've commoditized a lot across the globe in terms of resources.
Money is like religion, Dr. Mya. Money is like religion.
If you worship
it used to be good.
Well, religion.
that's interesting perspective, Lou. Here's the thing.
Religion is neither good nor bad. It's just the way one thinks. It's just there's like 4,000 religions on planet Earth.
It's a lot.
When you spin stuff like that, Stan, don't spin it too fast because it makes me dizzy.
But there is. I mean, religion is just a man's attempt to appease God. I mean, religion is of
that's what man says.
No value.
That's what man says.
Well,
God didn't say that.
We're gonna get into a theological discussion.
Oh no! So Lou, I'm interested in your definition of religion. What do you define religion as? We're looking at it from that perspective.
I have very, very little use for any religion.
Right. So I mean,
So because I don't think that religious organizations, especially the Spanish speaking and the black organizations in the United States, are doing the work that needs to be done in our communities. And they the first ones, religious organizations are the first ones to start talking about call the police.
But see, this is an interesting conversation, and to a certain degree a needful one, because it's one that has had from time to time as a churchman, all right, as a clergyman, it's always interesting to hear outside church folk talk about what the church should be doing, what its purpose is, as though, and they're not contributors to it. Now, they have no problem reaping the benefits of the work of the church. I'm not an elk. I'm not a Mason. I don't care what the Elks Club or the Masons do. Yeah, it's none of my business. I don't care what they do. Now, I've heard some stuff about both. I've heard things about Masons that you don't talk about in public unless you be wanting to lay up underneath some bricks or something. So, or Skull and Bones, So these organizations they do what they do. Now, the church, from a religious...
It's funny. Let me just interject this. No. It's funny how you talk about those organizations with such relevance, but I'll submit this to you. We have those organizations in Hartford. We have the Latin Kings, we have the Sólidos, we have 20 Love, but nobody ever talks about them like that. Oh, we have Skull and Bones.
Who's talking about
the Masons? I'm just saying, they're organizations too, brother, but go ahead.
You speak as though I'm speaking of them in a good light. I am not.
Oh, okay.
Do you want me to bring Latin Kings and 20 Love into the same light as Skull and Bones?
Yes. Absolutely.
Because
they're criminal organizations. Okay? And we're not going to sit here making them out to be anything else.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
Because they are criminal.
Cool.
I don't consider Latin now.
No. I'm talking about the other ones.
They are criminal organizations.
Talking about the Skull and Bones,
right?
And the Masons.
Lou, didn't I say that you wind up being pushed up underneath the bricks?
Yes.
In what way is that in a good light?
Well, I don't know. It seemed like there was some reverence and fear.
No, there's no reverence or fear.
Well,
for you.
Yeah, that's how I interpret it.
Right. You interpret everything from the perspective of a false construct of race. I do not. We're talking about the role of the church. And churches and religion can be just like Skull and Bones.
Let me ask you a question.
No, Lou. Let me finish.
Sorry. Yes.
Skull and Bones, the Elks, and the Masons are tantamount to religious organizations. That's what we're talking about.
But
we're not
criminal organizations
hold
under
Lou,
the guise or protection of religious organizations. I just want to get the whole story out.
The whole story can be gotten out after I finish telling you what I'm saying. You're finishing my sentences for me.
I apologize.
I didn't put them in those lights. That's how you see them. You see them as sacrosanct organizations that other people lift up to a certain height. I'm not at that place, and I'm not lifting them up. Okay. This is what's wrong with false constructs.
Yes.
When you set up the construct and anyone else talks, you put them in your construct.
Right.
That's not in my construct.
Right.
So your world and how you view things and the lens in which you look at stuff is germane to you.
Yes.
I respect that.
Absolutely.
However, I don't see through your eyes.
Absolutely. I don't expect you to.
And while they may be criminal organizations, I'm not lifting them up to some noble height. You see them in that light. I would never put them in that light. So for you, they're already there. And you want them to be brought down. You think they need to be...
They've never been there for me. They've always been down. That's why I said they are criminal organizations. That's it. They ain't being lifted nowhere, Stan.
Lou, you're the one that put them there, not me.
Yeah. Okay.
Not me.
I understand.
You did.
But let me ask you this.
What?
Do you think Emmett Till and his mother think that race is a construct that is false? Because that's what you're implying.
Race is a false construct.
Okay, but do you think they feel like that?
I don't know what they think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you know what they think. I think you're going to sit here and tell me what they think.
No. I wouldn't tell you what they think, but I'll tell you what I think.
That's fair.
Right.
Go on.
And well, I'm just saying, I don't think is we have to ask the families of the people that have been killed over race if race is a false if they feel like it's a false construct. Because when you're killed behind something, it doesn't seem false to me. It seems very real because that person's life and the millions of black and brown people who have been killed behind race, I don't think any of them felt that it was false.
Can I just interject just a little bit? Because I want to change this up just a little bit from the perspective of safety, because we are talking about things that involve looking at things from a perspective of different categories of individuals based on race. Now, Lou, the question is for you.
Yes.
Based on students' safety, based on what has occurred through gun violence over the past month, do you have a solution as to how it is that our school systems here in Connecticut should put into place policies and practice to keep all of our children safe? I would like to know your perspective on that and whether or not you believe that it's going to be different based on the race of the children.
So for me, it's already an issue because it's already being monetized. I'm seeing advertisements on social media by these gangster companies talking about how they can offer safety to your children, and they use these key phrases because as soon as people talk about your children, they got your full attention. You know what I'm saying? You could be doing whatever you're doing, and then you're like, hold up, what? What'd you say? So that's a problem. For me, like everything else that I've said, sister, the Constitution has to be rewritten, right? And since we never had a voice in how and what our children are going to learn, then we need to do that over. And we need to have conversations like we're having now with elders in the community and educators to see what it is that we need. Because yesterday I was saying to my son, he's 30 years old. I said, Giovanni, in school kids don't learn anything useful today. I said, you're 30 years old. You don't know how to change a tire. You know what I'm saying? So we have to find out, because there was a meme on Facebook that kind of slapped me in the face. It said, your whole life you've been told how to live and you never asked why. And it's the same thing that I say about when I say, black people have been called all these names, all these, Negroes and whatever. Every black person that I've asked, Dr. Mya, how many of them names did you give yourself? They said none. And I said, but you accepted all of them. The same thing with Puerto Ricans, right? We were colonized by Spaniards who speak Spanish, but they're white Europeans. They're Europeans. We can't be Latinos. We can't be Hispanics, but we accepted both of those labels, right? Geographically and historically, it's impossible for people from the Caribbean. It's like saying that the Jamaicans are British because they speak English. But we've accepted all these labels and all these things we never question. And now, in the time of the Great Awakening, once again, people are asking a lot of questions. I had a pastor tell me, Lou, we got religion all wrong. We got to start over. And I had another pastor tell me, with the things that you say, Brother Lou, you make me question everything about my religion. Because people and it's not just him, and it's not just about religion. People are asking, look at what happened with cannabis. Cannabis was a category 1 drug, right up there with heroin and all these other. And now it's medicine. They're giving it to infants, toddlers, elderly, people in between. You know what I'm saying? Because we accepted whatever the government said was, we never researched, we never educated ourselves, and not just on that, but Dr. Mya, on everything. We just never asked questions. We accepted it. And now people are asking questions.
Check this out. Lou, check this out though. You said a whole lot. But I wanted to know what it is that would be your solution. We have to
figure out as communities. Because the other thing is that education cannot be a cookie cutter thing either.
Right, but Lou.
I'm just saying
I
safety, but all of these things.
You are just saying.
We have to do it over.
Why don't we pick 1,000 things that are wrong? And every week we just talk about those things that are wrong. So we start off with the Constitution. We need to rewrite the Constitution. We need to question everything. Having said all of that, now what?
I'm just saying.
Well, you're just saying.
We have to keep asking questions,
but Lou,
because answers are coming. Because we've never been in this arena. We've never delved into this.
So
we've never had the freedom. 20 years ago, we couldn't have this conversation.
We could.
We might have been raided.
No, we could.
Okay.
Because I was over on Sequoia Street having this conversation 20 years ago.
Okay.
I have tapes of it. So the conversation is great. And I might add, Harvard's great for conversation, as is rest of America. Because I could show you videotapes of conversations. You pick a government agency, pick a nonprofit in Hartford, and we'll go to the meeting. And after they finish the first 3 sentences, I'll tell you what they're going to say. And I'll show you videotape of the same conversation they had 40 years ago.
I think, Dr. Mya, to answer your question, and Stan, I think that Jeffrey Canada has the right idea. I've spoken about him several times on here. He's the founder and the executive director of the Harlem Children's Zone. And what I read about him is he started with 2 blocks. He took all the kids on those 2 blocks, and he met all of their needs and their families. If the parents were on drugs, he got them treatment. If they needed an apartment, he got them an apartment. If they didn't have medical, he got them medical. If they didn't have a car, he got them transportation. If whatever. There was nothing that prevented those children from excelling. And that's exactly what they did. So it's proven. This is not, just hearsay. He proved it. They graduate excellence. And we can do it. Because I heard this conversation, the same thing that you were talking about this morning, Dr. Mya. We have money for a lot of things. But we ain't got money for our children.
Right.
You understand? So we've accepted that. That's what I'm saying.
No,
we've accepted that notion.
That.
Yes.
No.
They had billions of dollars to give to the Ukraine. Puerto Rico is a colony. Colony is a sanitized word for slavery. Okay? Ain't nobody throwing money over there. Ain't nobody talking about that. We've accepted things. That's what it is, and that's hard to accept.
Lou, let me ask you this. So just bringing it back to solutions. Related to the safety of our children, have you thought about what type of solutions that actually could go into place? Now you're saying yes. Hold on for a second, because I'm not done. Based on your yes, can you get a team that will write some type of political action policy that can be presented as to the solution or solutions that you have thought about? That's where I'm really going with this, right? So we've said a lot so far, but I'm thinking solutions here, because you are a man with multiple plans, but I'm thinking in terms of actually turning what it is that we're talking about into policy, because it's all about politics. Politics is in everything. And so I want to know if you are engaging in a movement whereby you're going to turn your solutions into political action policies. One
of the things that I'm doing right now, Mya, and I've been to a couple districts already, is I'm representing families in districts in throughout Connecticut that have had racial situations arise with their children or with themselves or with groups of students or what have you. For me, there is no one thing. There is no one thing that we can do to make our children safe. It has to be a series of things. You know what I'm saying? And we have to talk about what that's going to look like for us. Because another problem that we have is that we always bring in experts to tell us what to do, and we accept that. We don't have a discussion about what that's going to look like in the short, medium, or long term.
But no, so Lou, I'm not even talking about us bringing in experts. I'm talking about you specifically in your team, your tribe, crafting legislation to be enacted or at least considered and reviewed.
I'm a tribal leader, Mya, and I don't know if we're moving in that direction at all.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
We may not be moving on the legislation side, because the problem is that we can't keep looking for solutions for the problems that that we have that were created by people from the same people. You know what I'm saying? And when we look for legislation and stuff like that, we have to think away from that and come up with ideas that will do better than that.
Check this out, though. Check this out, because you mentioned a lot about deconstructing the Constitution.
Yeah.
But now you said that there's a problem. So here's the thing: we got to move away from looking at things as problems, but looking at the solutions.
Yeah.
Right? But you're saying, so here's the thing. This is where I'm getting confused, because you're putting up obstacles that should be actually addressing the problems that you know exist.
Yes.
Right? So, for example, you're saying that there's a problem with going down a certain pathway to getting certain things changed. But my thing is that when you also speak, you're saying that we need solutions to said problems that you are actually communicating. So I'm getting two different messages coming alongside here. So for example, if it is that we went down the route of having the Constitution looked at, that means that we have to get something going in writing. And so I'm not talking about bringing in individuals that you deem would be obstructors to the process. I'm talking about individuals that's going to play on our team related to getting solutions actually done, whoever they may be. Okay, so for clarity purposes, when I start talking about solutions, and then hearing you say that, well, there's a problem with this, or there's an obstacle in our way for this, I'm more so focused in on you saying we're going to act on doing this. I'm not really gelling with the whole, okay, I see we've got an obstacle that's going to prevent us from doing that. No, the sky's beyond the limit. If it is that these problems exist, the only way that we're going to actually get around to making sure that we correct those wrongs is that we get into action. We can't keep talking about there's obstacles preventing us. No. At this point in 2022, there are no obstacles. The only obstacles are us not actually engaging in doing the work.
So let me clarify.
So we can't keep saying that there's a problem or there's an obstacle. Yeah. We've got to be like, okay, here's the solution, and this is what I have written up, and this is what I'm going to present. That's where we are right now.
And I completely agree with that. But when I say that, I never said that anything is stopping us. I'm just letting people know of what to expect when you get to that position. You understand? Because when I was in New Britain, I did videos chronicling what happens when an individual takes on the system, what the expectations are, what you can expect, step by step, including, just having a bunch of people kind of like build a wall around themselves, you know what I'm saying, and insulate themselves. So all the way till I had to leave Mya because it was detrimental to my health. But the work that I did led to the resignation of the superintendent and the assistant superintendent because they were exposed. So it's not that, we have to understand what we're facing.
I think we do understand what we're facing. But
so when you get to people, it's different when you talk about things than when you are actually out there living them. Now, when I talked about what happens to you when you go against the system, I spoke about all the racism that I faced from the superintendent on down to the board that never got involved, to politicians, because we have to talk about these things.
Right,
we have to let people know this is what happens.
We are talking about
No, but I'm not just saying me. We all have to talk about that. Because I'll tell you, there were thousands of people, black and brown people that I know, thousands, that knew that I was going through that in New Britain, and nobody picked up the phone and said, hey, superintendent, what's going on out there with Luis Delgado? He's one of our leaders, and we're concerned. Nobody did that.
So
you understand? So that's what black and brown support looks like,
Lou.
And that's why I go to support these families, because we have people that have voices in here, politicians, community leaders all over the state, and we have to support each other. When there's an issue in East Hartford, we should all land in East Hartford. When there's an issue in Waterbury, we should all land in Waterbury. You understand? This is the way, this is one of the solutions that I'm offering.
So, if we
support for black and brown people,
I think you said that. So, support as you define support is folks showing up for the cause of the day. I don't mean that in a disparaging way.
Yeah.
So, if something's happening in East Hartford, something's happening, so there need to be some coordinated effort.
Or you don't have to show up. You can call. But I'm just saying, and that's just one way to support, because I've said this before on the show stand. I think a lot of times black and brown people think of support as monetary all the time.
No one said that.
I'm just saying that's how people perceive it.
Right, but it
doesn't have to be like that.
If you're going to be successful doing what you want to do, now you've done this, so what I'm saying shouldn't be new and is not rocket science.
Yeah,
you gonna need money.
Exactly.
So some of them people need to be getting up off the dollar. Some of the people need to be getting off their behinds and showing up.
Yeah, sometimes
you said no one did. So you need everybody to step up to the plate. If no one's coming out, if you know thousands of people and no one shows up, then there's an issue. I don't know what the issue is. We could drill down and find out, but there's an issue. All right? Maybe everybody is at work. Maybe they can't all step away. Of all the thousands of people that you know. All right? So, organizing these individuals, you have a strike team that shows up at certain things.
Yeah.
The fact that people aren't coming, you move on beyond those people. Making them aware of it. If you know thousands of people, then they must know that you are disappointed in their lack of participation. What more can you tell them? You can't drag them out.
Well, I think for me, Stan, it really doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to do what I have to do, but I'm just kind of showing.
Bring your mic.
I'm just kind of illustrating a point here that, we need to be less accepting of things, because the problem is always going to be the same, Stan.
What did you say when you first came on? I think if you reflect on the words that came out of your mouth when we first came on.
Racial battle fatigue.
Right. You think some of the people who you may be working with might be suffering from fatigue? You're on the battlefield and you're fatigued. Yeah. We need everyone to fight, but folk can't fight no more.
Yeah.
So what, if your expectation is people going to pick up arms and fight when they've been fighting for so long.
No, they haven't been fighting. They've been surviving. And that's the difference, bro.
So are we talking fatigue or survival? I'm just addressing the fatigue. We can't change the rules of the conversation. Every time we get into one word, we jump off of that while we're trying to explore this area. We jump into something else.
Yeah, but Stan, you keep changing. You keep bringing different stuff. But look, here's the thing. I'm not even going to worry about that. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. Okay. I don't think that black and brown people in this country, in any city, collaborate with each other in a healthy and productive way. I don't care what city we're in.
That's a general statement, though.
It's very general and it's very true.
That's really general.
It's very true. Because if it wasn't true, then we wouldn't have all the stuff we have.
Now, listen.
I'm listening.
Lou, even from the perspective that if we look historically down the U.S. history timeline,
yes,
where it is that if we use Martin Luther King as an example, right? There were individuals that worked together well, and there were other individuals that refused to work together. But for those that are willing to roll up their sleeves, we need to focus on those individuals.
Right.
We can't say, what someone will not do and what they value and what they do not value. It's when we put out our sign up list, we're looking for individuals that are going to be dedicated to moving as a team to get what needs to get done.
So tell me this, Dr. Mya.
Anybody, hold on for a second, because anybody else, if we merge into this conversation, all the ones that will not do, there are always going to be other people that are not going to participate. Always.
Yes.
So we can't talk about those. We need to talk about those individuals that are willing and able and ready to roll up their sleeves to get things done. Because if we start focusing on those that aren't going to get things done, then we're going to be really narrowing our focus and get distracted. We can't get those distractions coming in. Focus in on those individuals who want to get things done, and then go ahead and get those things done. Just like you said, you're not going to let any one person or multiple people stop you from doing what you need to get done. So when we're having this type of dialogue, our dialogue should not be on those who don't want to do or are not willing to do. Our dialogue should be about attracting, promoting, supporting those that are willing to get things done. Otherwise, we are spending our resources in a really futile direction. So our focus, again, Lou, in terms of solutions, we're looking at I will roll up my sleeves and get it done.
That's your job.
People.
That's your job. Everybody's
that's
not
all of
in
our
your
jobs.
lane. No,
That's all
no,
of our
absolutely
jobs.
not.
No, because
Absolutely
listen,
not.
you're in a lot
That's
of
just an
movements.
opinion. That's
but,
just
but
an
you're
opinion.
presenting a lot of opinions as well, and you're kind of
but I'm just saying.
conflating. And in general, you're saying that no black and brown people are willing to work together, when historically and even to this day, yes, we are. So that
Survival,
statement that you making, no, hold on for a second.
Survival is a different mode.
Hold on.
What?
Lou,
Let's finish. We got plenty of time.
respectfully, let me just finish.
Yes.
Respectfully, if it is that you generalize and state that groups of black and brown people are not willing to work together, that right there is a false perception. But it's your perception nonetheless. However, historically speaking, and even at this very point, that is not the case. We are working together to get things done. That's why a lot of things have gotten done. That's why a lot of things that are being worked on are actually being accomplished as we actually have this conversation. So I'm just saying, for you to make a statement like that is actually not really accurate in terms of the perspective. When I state also that, overall, if the focus is on all those individuals that don't want to be involved, that's a distraction. That's all I'm saying. We can't keep being distracted by those that don't want to get things done. We're not talking about them. We're talking about focusing our energies in on individuals that are going to be committed to getting the things done. Otherwise, we're just going around in a circle on this hamster wheel. Let's let this conversation be about those individuals that want to get things done, like yourself, like me, like Stan and others. Okay, let the conversation be more so about that. We can't talk about what people don't want to get done. They're gonna do what they're gonna do, but let us promote individuals that are ready, willing, and able to roll up their sleeves to get what needs to get done. Let's talk about that.
Terrific. And Dr. Mya, first of all, thank you for that beautiful knowledge. I completely agree with you. However, I don't see myself in that role. I see myself, I uplift, and I want to, hold up people who are doing great. But by the same token, the people who are taken away, who are obstacles, they have to be exposed. And I strongly believe in that. I believe in it. I'm not saying that's going to stop me from doing what I got to do. On the way to hold you and stand up, when I see people down the way that are not doing what they're supposed to do, I'm going to talk about them. You know what I'm saying? But that's not going to take anything away from what I'm doing, the work that I'm doing with you and Stan and others. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. And then in terms of solutions, I really believe in community conversations, like neighborhood groups deciding things for their neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times decisions are made for neighborhoods by politicians that are not in their best interests.
Absolutely.
It could be that they want to put up, one of those strip bars or something, right next to a school or whatever, because there's money involved or somebody, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, so I believe that a lot of the solutions have to come from within, because the people that are here, we're the ones that have to live with the decisions that we make. And that's why I don't think that sometimes unions and things like that should have a lot to say in terms of what's going to happen in communities. They can talk about their, what's going to happen on the job and stuff like that, but not what's going to happen in the community, because at the end of the day, they go home and then we have to live there.
I think at the end of the day, though, Lou, we're talking the same thing. I think sometimes when it is that we're having a conversation, the way you see it, and then the way that I'm internalizing it, I think it comes full circle, because you are what's referred to as an actioneer. You get things done, right? And so when you say you don't see yourself as such, and then you say you're going to get things done no matter what, it's like it's kind of like, it seems like it's canceling it out, right? It's
right.
Like you get things done, but you don't see yourself as that. Lou, you are an actioneer. You get things done. So yes, you are a part of that crew that is a part of making sure that things get done, whether it's exposing people for the criminals, crooks, and everything else negative in between, or whatever the case may be. But yes, you, sir, are part of that movement. So you are getting things done. So all I'm saying is that when you say that you're not part, but you are doing exactly that, let's just make sure that we're on the same page. Yes, you are the man that is getting things done.
Let me ask you and Stan
if
this.
you don't see yourself, hold on for a second. If you don't see yourself as that, then that's perfectly fine. But the perception that you communicate based on what you are doing and are engaged in speaks volumes to me in terms of a man that is actually involved with getting things done as an actioneer. So again, I'm not to negate how you see yourself, but based on what you state, you are getting things done.
I want you and Stan to name 5 people in Hartford, people of color, that you will roll up your sleeves and support for public office, for mayor, let's say. 5 people.
5 people that I would?
Yeah.
Well, you put me in a very interesting...
It's taking you too long, Stan.
No. Let me answer the question without you micromanaging my answer. Lou?
Stan, we have a good time here, man.
Yes, we do. I have to be careful with my answers because my answers can be misconstrued as support for people who I may not necessarily be supporting. It's not that I can't think of 5. I can think of more than 5.
Can I tell you a joke before you answer?
Go ahead, Lou.
Eric Coleman can't be one of them.
You can't tell me how to answer.
He's not from Hartford.
Awful.
I'm just messing around.
Lou put restrictions on it.
Right. Now I need you to give me 5 people that are 6'3", but no taller than 8 feet, but shorter than a half inch.
And one leg is shorter than the other one.
Right.
Hey, so Stan.
Also, it's somebody with 6 toes there.
I didn't hear anything from Dr. Maya or from Stan yet.
Someone with 6 toes.
You hear me, Dr. Maya? I didn't hear anything from you or from Stan yet. All this rolling up in support.
It's not rolling up. I mean, I have
Right.
a broader
And
responsibility.
That's my point, Dr.
And
Maya.
I can't just roll off names
did
because.
you get my point, Dr. Maya?
Right. You want to know who's. Okay, here's somebody.
I need 5.
I don't know that they're from Hartford.
I need 5.
I don't know that they're from Hartford, and this is going to shock everybody.
Yep.
I'm going to make one person almost livid and upset, but I'll deal with him. The number one person at the top of my list for mayor of Hartford, Eddie Perez.
He is from Hartford.
Was he born in Hartford?
He's born in New York.
That make you not from Hartford.
No.
That's why.
I'm talking about that lives in Hartford, Stan. A Hartford resident. Not like Luke Bronin. A dude that came in from the cold.
We don't have to go back into all of that. Everyone knows that. My answer is Eddie Perez.
That's only one.
I only need one.
I'm saying.
Only one can win.
I'm not gonna roll up my sleeves for 5 people. I'm only gonna roll up my sleeve for one person.
Okay, so how about you, Dr. Maya?
You know what? I would lean on what Stan said. Because I see a lot of things that could be beneficial from Eddie Perez taking on that position, because he's had the position before, and a lot of good things came out of him being in that role. So I'll say the same thing. I mean, not to piggyback, but I am going to piggyback.
Listen, I know Eddie since we were kids, and I consider him a friend, but I wouldn't vote for him for mayor. You know, he had that association with that white man that ended up stealing the car, and
listen, Lou, if we started rolling back, listen,
we're not going back. We're going forward.
Lou, if we started rolling back all the transgressions that every one of us right here on this show did, a lot of things would not be something that we would actually support. So none of our hands are clean. Okay, so
Yeah, but
you
some
know,
some
if
dirt
the
is different than others.
hold on for a second. No, here's the thing: a crime is a crime is a crime.
No.
So no matter what, so let's keep it 100, right? So if we're gonna start, you know, nitpicking on certain things, you know, none of us will be innocent of anything. Let's keep it 100. Let's keep it 100.
The people in Washington D.C.
Listen,
re-elected
everybody,
Marion Barry.
Excluded. So nobody's excluded, Lou.
After
nobody's
catching
excluded.
him smoking crack on film.
So, nobody's excluded,
now.
Lou.
I ran against Eddie Perez. I publicly, on television, referred to Eddie as a criminal. I know people who can't be in the same room with Eddie. Having said that, I think people learn from their mistakes. And I think where he is now as a human being, relative to where he was when he made errors like the rest of us, that he is the most singular person, most qualified to run Hartford and put it in a direction that would be beneficial for the people. Whether or not he does that is another subject. But
let's call him right now and see if he wants to run. Call him right now and see if he wants to run. You getting him on, Steen?
I'm going to call him.
Let's call him. Let's ask him.
Well, this is prime time right here. This is good stuff.
That's what we do, Dr. Mya.
Hey, listen, I'm still here. This is what we do.
That's what I'm saying, man. This is community, though. This is what the community does. We talk to our people.
Yeah.
And we
can't just talk about it. We got to be about it.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not available right now, but please leave your name, telephone number, and a message, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible.
At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Mr. Mayor, this is J. Stan McCauley. We're live on the air. Wanted to ask you a question. I'm here with Luis Delgado. Unfortunately, we got your answer machine, but I didn't want to just hang up without letting you know why we were calling you. You have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Hold on 1 second, brother. Hold on 1 second. Eddie, I got you. I'm on the air with Stan McCauley.
See?
I'm going to put you on
speakerphone.
that?
See that?
And we're going to ask you a couple questions.
He's on the phone with you?
Oh, that's interesting.
Hold on a second.
See?
Hey, Eddie,
he's not taking my call. Right? He's not taking my call, but he took your call. I'm very disappointed.
It's a Puerto Rican thing.
It's a Puerto Rican thing, right? See? Yeah, I know that's true.
Hey, Eddie, you're on the air with Stan McCauley and Dr. Mya, man. Good morning, brother.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Wow, man. I know where I rate on your list of people, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, Eddie, I don't want to tell them that we used to be in a gang together.
Put the speaker more on there, the phone.
I'm waiting till she turns 7, and I'll tell her that.
Hey, Eddie, would you mind calling Stan back because he can put you on the air? I have you on speakerphone. He'll put you on the air. We want to ask you a couple questions, please.
Okay.
Thank you, brother.
Can you guys text me the number that you want me to call back on?
Okay, thank you. Yep.
All right.
Can you do that, Stan?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, text him that number and he'll call us.
All right. See, you must have a different number than the one I have.
That could
Listen.
be true. That could be true.
All right. He must have a different number.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's a PR thing. Someone said.
It's got like two.
It is. I
got
know it is.
2 phones. I got 2 phones. Got 2 phones.
See if that's the number I have. Yup. It's the same number. It's a Puerto Rican thing.
It is. It is.
See? Mm-hmm. I have his number, but that don't mean, see, just because you have someone's number doesn't mean they'll pick up the phone.
That's what
he
that
could have been
proves. But that's how it goes.
Indisposed.
Let me throw the towel in for my friend.
You know what it was? He was calling him while I was
At the
calling
same
him.
time?
Right.
And
What?
He
what I was
beat me
thinking.
to the call.
That's what it was.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to lean on that too heavy.
Mr. Mayor, how are you?
All right, you got it? Is this the number you wanted to be on? You want me
Yeah, I got the same number. You picked him. We said that he must have been calling you, and you answered the phone first. And I went to voicemail while you were talking to him, I think.
Oh, okay. All right.
And then I said no, it was a Puerto Rican thing.
I don't know about that. I think the white man confused you guys again.
All right, we're on the air. Mr. Mayor Eddie Perez is joining us. It's Morning Talk with Jason and McCauley. We have Luis Delgado here, of course, every Tuesday.
Wednesday.
Every Wednesday. Every Wednesday. I get my days together here. And so Luis asked me to pick 5 people who I would support, roll up my sleeves for running for mayor. Then, so I says, well, I'll only give you one person. I said, this is going to shock a lot of people. I said it would be Eddie Perez, period. And
it doesn't shock me. You've been there for 25 years. You haven't moved a little bit.
Right. So Lou was, so we were going back and forth. So he said, call him and ask him if he would run again. So that's why we were calling. That was the number one question. Would you think about running again?
The answer is probably not. The only reason I would run is that folks come to me and convince me that it's worthwhile in terms of what they want me to do and why they will want me to do that. But I'm not out there
floating,
thinking of running for mayor because I've been there and done that.
Mm-hmm.
But if the village is loud enough, then I have to listen. But the answer is not. That's not something that I have in my horizon. But I never say no.
Never say no.
Because never say no.
Right.
Is that an answer? That's not a political answer. That's the real answer.
That's the answer that I would expect, and that's the same answer I would give. Because I mean, it's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of work.
No. I'm not afraid of the work, and I'm not afraid. There's a lot of things that go into thinking about running for office.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't be shy about the work. You got to be really about whether you're going to be effective in doing something. I never imagined I would run for mayor the first time I ran for mayor, because I was always against thinking about running for public office, elected office before that. But the primary reason that I got the bug about running for mayor was charter revision. And I had been around that question for about 25 years. And somebody taught me that if you don't like the law, you could change it. So I went and changed the law and made it a strong. But I probably wouldn't have never run for office if it wasn't for the question of the weak mayor versus the strong mayor form of government. And the other one was that everybody wanted, at least I heard loud and clear that most people wanted that change in government. And the only way I was involved with at least 4 charter reform efforts by all the previous mayors before we went and did that. So I would have probably stayed at Trinity and maybe retired as professor in the community action department at Trinity.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Eddie.
Uh-huh.
Brother, how are you, man? It's good to hear from you. We always checking in, man.
Yeah. Always good to hear from a ghetto brother, man. Always good to hear from a ghetto brother.
Thank you, brother. Hey, Eddie. Just a quick question for the audience. I mean, I've heard Stan is not the only one. Dr. Mya is also on the air with us, and she also seconded Stan as a supporter. And I've heard from a lot of people. But I want to ask you a different type of question.
Mm-hmm.
What would you change in the charter if you were the mayor? What would you like work to change in the charter to make the city better? Just one thing that you think would make,
I don't think the charter is as important. I mean, the charter is is like the Bible, right? You either follow the, if you believe in the Bible, you believe in the Bible, and if you believe it, the charter has its limits. I think that the biggest thing I would change is the attitude of people wanting change but not being part of what it takes to be changed. So the charter is not; it's only a guiding document. So if you don't like parts of the charter, you could change them. But once you change them, you got to be able to implement them and make them real. And I'm not sure. My participation in the charter revision was around the big global issues, not the small stuff. And I think I'm a little bit disappointed that the activism in our city continues to, and the civic involvement continues to decline.
To dwindle,
so
yes.
So what I'm saying is, it's just, you could put the charter up on the bookshelf, and it's what you do every day in the streets of Hartford that counts.
Mr. Mayor, this is Dr. Mya Bowen. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you.
Thank you. I have a question regarding accountability. In regards to your journey in politics, is there a moment in time that you can remember where there has been a successful accountability approach to making sure that, individuals that hold positions, not only the political positions, but other positions within government, that has actually worked? And what was that one thing? If you can think of anything in terms of accountability, what was it in terms of its dynamics that held a individual or multiple individuals accountable, and how did that actually play itself out?
I would say part of I'm going to be a little long-winded here, but it's in order to really provide some perspective to it. So the answer, I'd say there are multiple examples, but one concrete example, and I think Stan maybe was a witness to this probably, but it's the whole way we changed the Board of Ed. After the Board of Ed was taken over for the state and we came back to a hybrid board of appointed and elected individuals, then what we did was when we recruited Adamowski as a superintendent, the board went through a process of re-engineering the way we manage the board business, and we went into a two-form where there was a business meeting and a issue meeting where we would discuss policy and stuff. And I think that at least went, and then we implemented that while I was chair of the board for a while, and I think it continued, and I think it still continues in a less disciplined way. But this notion that because one of the problems that the Hartford Board of Ed always had was that it wasn't able to conduct a business because there was always so many items on the agenda that were the current issues. So dividing the business from the current issues and reformatting the way the board operated. And as part of that, we were required to look at all our procedures, and we went through a lot of work to do that. So I think that made the board more functional, more accountable, and I don't know if it's practiced as much as we did, but it took us about 1.5 years to get to that point with Adamowski. And I don't know if Stan remembers, but having principals come up and talk about data in the fall about this is the kind of kids we expect, and this is what we're gonna do for the coming school year, and then having them in the spring and say, hey, what happened with that data was an accountable, very clear, because you would see which principals with their data teams were actually looking and using data as one of the accountability measures. So I would say that little sequence of events that I just described made the board more accountable and more functional. And I think it did move the needle in terms of how we were doing in each of the schools. Now, some schools perform better than others, and some follow the practices better than others. But I think there's still a glimmer of that in the current system. They still use the business meeting and the issues meeting. The regular. And Stan may be able to clarify whether or not that continues. But my understanding is that there's still a glimmer of that policy still around. Is that helpful?
It was helpful. I only wanted to get your insight, because I know that you have a lot of it in regards to the political aspect of it. But I would want to make one statement and probably a question following. So I don't know if you know about the online tutoring. That was a decision voted upon by the board, where they chose a Texas-based company to have online tutoring be provided to our students that didn't bode well in the online teaching environments during the pandemic. But from a statement being made on me being an outsider looking in, I don't think that vote was something that really should have went through. And so in regards to that, my question would be, if all of the details related to the data of students, and it was 4,500 students that were selected to take a part of it, and at this point in time, less than 1% of those students, as well as their parents, actually have signed up and partaken in said $3.3 million contract. At the point where the vote is being made, Mr. Mayor, what would you suggest that the board members do if it is that said details about students not really and truly having a true benefit from said contract being a part of their decision to vote yay or nay on that? How would you guide board members in terms of their decision of making decisions or votes in regards to not having all the details? Is the snappy way of putting together my question.
Yeah, well, I, as a board member, part of the responsibility of a board member is to have all of the information before they vote on a contract to their comfort level. If they entrust that responsibility upon the superintendent, and then they got to hold the superintendent accountable because they didn't know what they voted on. They gave that responsibility to the superintendent, and if that kind of vote of confidence goes, and I think if this happened during COVID, there was a lot of that work that had to go on. So the division between what's administrative and what's policy has to be clear. So an individual contract, when you get into the details, is more administrative than not. But having said that, mm-hmm. I would want to know as a board member, do we understand what this company is proposing, and if that matches what we need, and how we're going to measure the results afterwards, and make sure that the superintendent or the actual division head who's handling it convince us that all of that is possible. And as soon as the contract is over, that report has to come back and say, now some efforts may fail and some may succeed. a board member's responsibility is to put that accountability as part of the vote, so that the report comes back and people know. And the more transparent they are before the decision is made, the easier it is to continue that transparency when the final result comes out. The final result doesn't have to be always 100% success. In baseball, there's 500 is a good hitter, right?
Mr. Mayor, at a price tag of $3.3 million.
Listen,
if you're getting,
I'm gonna have Stan help me. Stan,
thank you for your input. That is something that is to actually be internalized and thought about. I do thank you for adding that contribution. But oh wow, that is you're exactly right though. I agree with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey Eddie, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate you taking a couple questions and calling in, man. We'll check in with you later on, bro.
No problema, my brother. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.
So, the other thing that I would say about Eddie that I find exceptional in a public servant is that he was extremely accessible to anyone. He didn't play that hiding behind the door or behind his staff. If you called him, he called you back, and you can go to his house, you can go to his office, and if you seen him in the street and you called him over, he acknowledged you. He said, "How can I help you?" You know what I'm saying? So we need that. We need that from our public servants.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly.
Dr. Mya, you are phenomenal. Thank you for, staying on and sharing all that beautiful stuff, man.
I love it. I love it.
Really good.
I love being here with you and Jay Stan, because if we're going to tackle what it is that we're working on, we're going to do this together, because teamwork makes the dream work. Teamwork makes the dream work.
And teamwork gets the job done. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
beautiful, man. And so to the family today listening and watching us today, thank you so much for your support. We continue to look for it. Please call with any questions that you have, any concerns. And in terms of me personally, you know that if you have any problems in school with the principals or people just being unprofessional, give me a call and we'll come in and we'll try to figure it out. Thank you so much. And once again, I want to give a shout out to our elders in the community that are still here, blessing us with that knowledge. And the term for the week, once again, is racial battle fatigue. Family, get used to that term. Get familiar with it. It's the kind of stuff that we go through as black and brown people every day. Thank you so much. Peace, family.
All right. All right, well, we're out of time, my friends. I can't get this theme queued up. I don't know what's going on there. So, just
5 more minutes. No.
Encore.
So we'll do the old talk over the. We'll roll the credits while we talk our way out.
Sounds like a
special
plan.
thanks to our
plan.
special guest this morning, the former mayor of Harvard, Eddie Perez.
Absolutely.
Dr. Mya Bowen joining us, of course, and Luis Delgado. And you all out there, have yourself a fabulous rest of your day. We will see you here next time. And bring a friend with you. All right. Someone said you had the bat phone. Says Lou has the bat phone. The bat phone. I am highly offended. No, I'm not. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Bye.